I do Facebook, respond. I do. And notice when you do the vows, it's not. If I was officiating Joe and Karen, or if I was officiating me and Megan, it would sound something like this. Megan, do you promise to love Beau with all your heart and soul?
You do.
You do?
I do.
No, it's I do. Because it would sound like this. Megan, do you promise to cook him cookies and give him back rubs every night?
I do.
I do. But sometimes in our relationship, we feel like it's you do. When we get married, we feel like, okay, now I do is off the table, and I'm going to be happy or I'm going to be fulfilled if you do. If you do this, if you cook and don't burn the cookies, if you don't walk with mud and all over the floor, I'll be happy. If you, or we hear this a lot. Well, I feel. Listen, you don't get to feel anymore. Come on, somebody, you already did. Who am I talking to? Amen. In our vows, we're promising God and our spouse in front of a whole bunch of witnesses. I do. I'm deciding that from now on, I don't care if she got bad breath when I wake up. I did. I said I did, right? I said I do. So it doesn't matter if what I do in the morning or how crazy my hair is. She promised that she would. We in our culture, we've had a very victim mentality in every relationship. If our boss gets onto us, it's not our fault. The other guy should have done. No, listen, it's I do. Amen. In relationships, you need to take ownership. In relationships, and not just marriage relationships, babe, but in listen, I can call her babe, but you can't, okay? I can call her babe, y'all call her Pastor Megan or Miss Norman or whatever, but I'll call her babe. Babe, in relationships, come on somebody, amen? There's a mentality that is all about what I get out of it. I need someone to know the success of your relationship in any capacity has more to do with input than output. Mm-hmm. See, if you're not putting much in, if your input is small, the output or the joy that relationship bring will always be minuscule. But if you decide that you did, I do, that you're going to intentionally be very, very intentional and purposeful to be inputting. If I am constantly inputting into our relationship, it doesn't matter what she does, I find joy. Amen? Because that's how God works it. God has a way of you finding joy regarding your input. Amen? And so we're going to talk for a few minutes of time. I got some questions that we've received that I want to talk about, and me and Pastor Megan. So we're going to do some Q&A on this. And so now that we know kind of the context, I do, any relationship, Megan, the question that we get asked a lot is, how do I have a healthy relationship?
Well, you don't burn oven pizzas. And what I mean by that is, my mom is an awesome cook, but I did not pay attention to when she cooked.
That's true.
So, because of my failures, my kids now have way more responsibilities than I ever had. So they have chores, they cook and they clean. Jace will learn laundry for sure. But when I first thought of this question, I thought singles. But then after thinking on it, I thought to my kids and how we do give them an education, but they need an education in every area of their lives. They need to know how to have healthy relationships. So you have all these years leading up to marriage, and it's all about me. And then you have we. And we don't know how to transition from me. So I think you train them when they're young how to have a healthy relationship.
Amen. Yeah, that's really good. Amen. Amen. I would add to that, men, eat burnt pizzas. Come on. Like, I'm convinced for the first year and a half of our marriage, Megan thought I liked my pizzas black on top and on bottom.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that she thought this weirdo, look, because she'd make them burnt pizzas, like, babe, you make the best pizza. And she's looking at me like, you're an idiot.
I knew better.
You knew better. But you know what? It didn't change the fact that I knew what her input was. Come on, somebody. I knew that she was working hard to put that pizza in the oven, cut the plastic stuff off. Sometimes. One time, listen, y'all, one time she left it on the cardboard thing.
I also left wax paper on the cheese one time.
That's a fact. I was eating cheese, and I took the bottle, I'm like, pulling it off, and I'm chewing it. I'm about to throw up just thinking about it, man. And I'm like, what is wrong with this cheese? She was like, mine tastes fine. So I bite, and I pull the cheese off, and the wax paper was stuck to my sandwich. And I was like, are you serious? You're trying to poison me. I ain't got that good of life insurance, y'all. What is going on here? but the truth is, especially early on in relationships, now I'm not afraid to tell her, listen, there's things, babe, you don't mess with. Don't change your chicken enchilada casserole. I like it the way it is. Don't mess with ham and beans. You don't need to add. She likes to try new recipes. Forget that. Try it on other people. I like it. But that's 15 years into the relationship, right? Early on, I don't care. Make what you want to make. And we ate a lot of shepherd pie, and we ate a lot of burnt pizzas, and a lot of undone cookies. And that's okay. See, again, in any relationship that you want to find success in, you can't judge everything that person does. And especially to a standard you haven't set. Come on, somebody. To a standard you haven't verbalized. And so in our relationship, even early on, I didn't ever complain about burnt pizzas. We'd either eat them, or we'd make a new pizza, or we'd go get some tacos from somewhere. And that's important. As silly as that is, it's such an important aspect of relationships, right? It's so important to understand, I'm not going to judge you by how you do regarding one circumstance. I'm not going to judge you based solely on one decision you made. I'm just going to continue to input. Amen. And she's going to continue to input. And so in healthy relationships, guys, just remember, it's more about what I put in than what I get out. Amen. God will make sure that your needs are met in the process. So regarding healthy relationships, now ladies, this is typically we find at least the first part of our answer or question in you guys, in you gals, not all the time, but a lot of times in counseling we have people that think if they get married that then they'll have self-worth, or if they date the right guy, or some guys if they date the right girl, that then they'll have self-worth. Megan, what would you have to say to that person that they felt like they would find their value or their self-worth in someone else's eyes?
Well, we find our value in God alone because we're made in His image, so we have a standard that we have to meet, and He gives us our value. But I know that we do try, especially for women. We had a women's night, it's been a couple months ago actually, and across the board it was we compare ourselves to each other, which is ridiculous because no two of us are alike, but we do that nonetheless. And so you can't find value in anything other than God, and just knowing that. And then you have to just practice it because you can't find value. I can't find my value in you.
Yeah, I think she's exactly right. I can equate a lot of stuff to sports. Coach Abercrombie, you were one of my coaches all through school, really, even from like 8th grade to a senior. And in life, we have a tendency to find our value, or we equate our success to whether I get on the ball team, or whether I get the promotion, or whether I get the job, or whether my wife's pleased with me or not. And the problem is, if we are looking to find value or self-worth in other people's eyes, we will live and die by their opinion. Mm-hmm. That means if Coach Abercrombie were to start me, I would feel like I am a successful person. But if he were to bench me, I would feel like what's wrong with me and what's wrong with my performance or ability. And see, the problem, and I understand, guys, there is some reality to that. Like if you can't sing, we're not going to ask you to be a part of the worship team. Come on, somebody. Like if you can't cook, you're probably not going to get a job as a chef. Like I understand there's some truth to that, but we're not talking about ability. We're talking about value. See, if I find my value in how you feel about me in the moment, I'm going to live high when you're happy with me or when she's happy with me. But I'm going to be the worst depressed person when she's upset with me because I left the banana peel on the kitchen table or on the countertop, right? And so, like, we have to understand that my value is. I was created in God's image. Somebody. Mm-hmm. I was created on purpose and with purpose. And the biggest thing the enemy does to attack us, y'all, is he tries to get us to lose our identity. He tries to fool us into thinking that our identity is less than anything in Christ Jesus alone. Come on, somebody. And so let me give you an example. So a sophomore in high school or a junior in high school, whenever I'm helping them with athletics or basketball, we always hear, what do I got to do to play varsity basketball? What do I got to do to start? And those are good questions, but you got to understand, you have to be really good to play varsity ball. Mm-hmm. And you have to be really, really good to start. And if you're really, really good and you can start, and you're better than really, really good and you're phenomenal, you'll go play college ball. And you can't even be phenomenal to start on college ball. You have to have insane work ethic and be phenomenal to start at the college level. And it doesn't end there. If you're going to make it a career, you can't just be phenomenal with great work ethic. You got to be a little bit lucky. See, if I were to equate my success to the fact that I'm not playing professional basketball, I would feel really bad about myself. So I learned to not judge my success based on people's opinions, and I learned to base my success on what God has to say about my life. Mm-hmm. See, it's the same thing in a marriage. Whenever I come home at night from work and we work hard, man, sometimes I feel like I go through hell to get people to heaven. Come on, somebody. Amen. Amen. We do. Like, we deal with some stuff. And sometimes in that process, it's easy to become neglectful, and it's easy to go through things. But I have to remember, at the end of the day, my success is found in Him. Mm-hmm. Right? The Lord told me a long time ago, before we ever started pastoring, He said, son, I don't judge success by numbers. I judge success by obedience. So you can make $1 million a year, or you can make $10 a year and still be successful in God's eyes. Because He wants your obedience. Amen? Come on, somebody. Amen? Amen? Another thing that I like to talk about is I'm not happy. Right in a relationship. I'm just not happy. I'm just not happy anymore. I'm just not happy. Well, what's wrong? I'm just not happy. How come? I'm just not happy. What's going on? I'm just not happy. You kind of sound like Obama without a teleprompter. Come on, somebody. I don't know. I'm just not happy. I don't know what to do. Come on. Edit that out of Facebook Live, okay? I'm just not happy. But what would you have to say to someone that's struggling with happiness inside of a relationship?
You know, I ran across this phrase this week, and I just thought it was amazing. And it was, what if God intended for marriage to make you more holy than happy? And I mean, obviously the two, they are correlated. So holiness equals happiness. If you're working towards holiness, you will find happiness. But I mean, it's your Christian duty to stay married. If you said I do, it is your Christian duty. And going back to kids, if you are fulfilling your marital vows, then how did we word it? If instead of a stumbling block, you're going to get a stepping stone for your kids. So.
Yeah, I love that, because we're talking about reconciliation in all walks of life. All right, so we're not talking about like, there's obviously situations, and maybe not in this room, maybe it's on Facebook, maybe it's someone that'll watch it later in the week in another country. There's situations where there's abusive husband, or husbands that have abandoned, or wives that have abandoned or even abusive. Yeah. There's adultery. There's things that are legitimate issues. That's not what we're talking about. Right? We're talking about, I just don't feel it anymore. I don't feel happy. I don't feel good I don't feel good when I get home. And the truth is, guys, if we're led by our emotions, your feelings are going to have a lot to do with how much chili you had. Come on, somebody, because gas affects your emotions. Who am I talking to? Especially your spouse's emotions if you have gas. And so, welcome to the hill, y'all. And so all joking aside, think about the reality of what I'm talking about. If I allow how I feel in the moment, like, there's a lot of moments I don't want to pastor. Right? Because sometimes you guys are hard to deal with. Not really, you're the perfect church. Other pastors tell me that people are hard to deal with.
Yep.
And so like, let's bring this down to a real life conversation. If we allow ourselves to be controlled by how we feel, man, we're going to be all over the map all the time. Like, there's times whenever I get up in the morning, I don't feel like wearing clothes, but guess what I do? I put on clothes, because I'll go to prison if I don't. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, some of y'all don't feel like paying taxes, but some of you guys probably don't pay taxes, but you should. You really should, because there's consequences. And so we have to understand that in life for our children, in life for other people, we are either going to be a stepping stone to the gospel, as Pastor Megan was saying, or a stumbling block to the gospel. Now, Jesus came for reconciliation and restoration in relationships. He came to restore broken people. Amen. He came to restore these things. First of all, if you're a broken person. You're a broken person. I'm a broken person. And so for me to think that if I, a broken person, Mary, hold my hand, baby. Another broken person, for me to think that these two broken people are going to be made whole, that's idiotic, because that's not going to happen. Right? I'm broken. She cannot fulfill me. If you're looking for your job to fulfill you, you will be unhappy. If you are looking for your spouse to fulfill you, you will live and die unhappy. But if you're looking for Christ to fulfill you, you'll find joy. See, church, there's a difference. We're confusing joy and happiness. And Psalm 37 is one of my favorite verses, babe. I think it's about verse 4. It says, let me back up here. It says, delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way into him and he'll do this. He'll make your righteousness shine like the dawn and the justice of your cause the noonday sun. Now check this out. We totally miss the word delight. We think delight means to be happy. We think that probably the Message version would sound something like this, because the Message version weirds people out. Although I like it a lot of times. We would say that it would sound something like this. If you'll frolic in the dandelions in the Lord, he'll give you the desires of your heart. I need someone to know delight doesn't mean frolic. Come on, somebody. I don't frolic a lot during my day. I could see Jake frolicking. Can anyone else see Jake frolicking?
I would love to see Jake frolic.
I would love to see Jake frolic. I need you to put up a camera when he's frolicking with. For those of you guys that don't know Jake, he's one of the manliest men I know, so this is hilarious to think about. So the word delight means to be pliable like clay. It means to be moldable. So God's showing us, David's writing, he's like, man, listen, if I learn to be molded in the Lord, he'll give me the desires of my heart because they're his desires. See, nowhere in our vows do we say, listen, I'll love you if you make me happy. The truth is, Megan's right. If our pursuit, there was a movie called The Pursuit of Happiness. The problem with that is happiness has to do with your situation. But joy is regardless of your situation. See, happiness has to do if I get a new car or if I get a new car stolen. Joy says it doesn't matter. See, the problem in our marriage is we're pursuing happiness versus joy. Because the joy of the Lord is your strength, not the happiness. Because God knew happiness was going to come and go. So he said, if you'll shoot for holiness within your marriage, you'll get happy in the process.
And iron sharpens iron. And being this close of proximity, we're bound to sharpen each other time to time. But it is those little annoyances and it's those little just day-to-day things that shape you and mold you into the character that God has for you, because he sees your end and he has to get you there some way or the other. And it's not always going to be peaceful. But we have to, because of the mirror that we have to be of Christ in reconciliation to us to God, we have to also resemble that.
You ever seen someone not like a knife, but like swords being sharpened? It's violent. Come on, somebody. So don't think it's going to be all pretty as iron sharpens iron, man. Sometimes it's a violent, not physical. I don't abuse her. For someone that's reading into that, that's not what happens. You said something I like, babe. Annoyances. What do you do about the things that I do that annoy you? Like let's talk about, you guys, I know that none of you are annoyed by your spouses, but sometimes Megan gets annoyed by me. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, and this is real revelational, but...
You didn't have to be so emphatic. Could have done without the eye roll.
But I would say, get over it. Yeah, you have to get over it, because remember, you said I do. So get over it.
Yeah, so my wife snores in her sleep. Any
but at least we know I'm awake. He doesn't even breathe in his sleep, so.
I quit breathing. It sounds like this. I'm like, it's kind of a win. She's videoing
and he never shuts up. Like, he just keeps talking all night long.
Listen, no joke. This morning, she was sleeping like this. And I reached over and I plugged her nose. And she went, whap, whap. And she hit me in the ribs. And it scared me. I thought, she's quick, even in her sleep, to hit me. like it happens, yo. Like, listen, on the way home last night. She loves me right now. On the way home last night, we drive in ice totally different. Meaning I drive in ice and she doesn't.
I don't.
We were on our way home. We left the square. We slid down the town hill. We're coming up and the truck starts to slide toward the curb, which made her nervous and me happy, because I thought if we hit the curb, I'll have traction to get up the hill. So I'm like shifting us. I'm like spinning into the curb so my back tire will hit it with the new tires from Sawyer. And I'm going to climb up that hill. And I look over in the passenger, she's going, she's over there praying in tongues, man. Praying we don't die on our way up the hill. And she said, we got to stop. I'm like, what are we going to do? We'll go to your parents' house. I'm like, what are we going to do at my parents' house? We'll spend the night. I said, you can spend the night, but I'm going home. Now the truth is, the whole way home, she was like, I'm trying to not.
Yeah, women's senses are way more heightened than men. So that's why we can see an accident 2 miles ahead of time.
It's true.
So just saying.
All the husbands know what she's talking about.
Legitimate.
Slow down. What? There's a deer. Where? In Bolivar. Okay.
We're still alive.
We're still alive. Touche. And so you have these things, guys, that are real life situations. Now, obviously, it's not major, but I think she's right. I think you have a decision to make regarding any relationship. You can choose to focus on what they do that annoys you, or you can choose to get over it. So, in the morning or at night, I can choose to focus on the fact that she's snoring, or I can choose to focus on the fact that I got a beautiful blonde beside me in bed. Come on, somebody. Now, you have a brunette or a redhead or whatever you have, or maybe it's a bald guy, I don't know. But for my situation, like I'm laying there, I can choose to be frustrated by the fact that she's snoring, or I can choose to thank God that he's given me a wife that the Bible calls a good thing. See, the problem is in our relationships, in any relationship, we begin to focus on the things about that person that irritate us. We begin to focus our attention on the things that frustrate us. And what happens is we then get a negative outlook or a negative opinion on that person. Right? Let me give you an example. Statistically, if you eat at a good restaurant, you tell 3 people. If you eat at a bad restaurant, they say statistically you never quit telling how bad it is.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? So you know what we've decided in our marriage? I'll joke about stuff, but I'm not going to talk about my wife behind her back. Especially to my family and my children. Come on, especially my friends. Because my friends don't need any reason to try to cause division, or my family doesn't, or her family doesn't need any reason to try to cause division. And not that they would, not that either, we have great families, not that they would. But the truth is, my mom and dad love me, and her mom and dad love her. And so if she runs to Belinda all the time and says, man, Beau, he's a jerk. We play a game at our house called Move the Trash Can. You guys, any husbands, did you know you're in a game that you're unaware of? Ours is Move the Trash. Go ahead. You want to talk about Move the Trash Can?
Yeah, we play Move the Trash Can because I get tired of trash sitting on top of it or beside it or mounding up around it.
Mostly my kids' fault, not mine.
Yeah, and God forbid anybody use a Band-Aid because there's 50 pieces left over after they've used it. So I move the trash can around because I think, well, maybe they'll put it inside if I move it over here. Or if I move it to the back of the house, they'll have to walk all the way back there, so they'll be intentional about it.
and it's true, guys. Like, she could easily go to her family or her friends and say, I've got the worst husband on earth. He puts a banana peel beside the trash can. Right? Now, that sounds so small, but if that piles up in her life, eventually the people that she loves and the people that are in her world are going to start telling her this, well, you deserve better. When the truth is, she's only sharing a limited spectrum of the reality that is our married life. So we have an agreement that we're not going to bad talk each other to anybody, to our family, to our friends. We have an agreement, not that we're not going to have frustration, but that we're going to choose to not talk down on one another, to not share, to not down each other to other people. Because the reality is, if I'm constantly focusing on what she does that annoys me, can I tell you what's going to happen? It's going to quickly not be the snoring, but it's going to be her.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be him. Or it's going to be whoever it is in your world. So in the process of little annoyances, you have to know to shake it off and focus on the good. In Philippians, go ahead, babe, you had something to say?
Well, and God calls us, when Jesus is asked what's the greatest command, and he says to love God and to love your neighbor. And that even means the unlovable. And sometimes you have people in your lives that is unlovable, but that is the command to love. And specifically, marriage is a man or a God-made institution, but he didn't command marriage. He let us choose. So in part, you are choosing who you are spending the rest of your life with. So get over it.
That's good. Come on. And listen, that's a good point. If you're single, be choosy. Because you're going to be with them for a long time. So that means you don't have to rush into it. I think if it's an unhealthy relationship while you're dating, the worst thing you could do is get married. Come on, they're not a fixer-upper. It's not a house.
Don't even think about a baby.
Don't even think about a baby,
go there.
man. If you're, that's it. Get a puppy, because you can sell a puppy on Craigslist. Small rehoming fee. Can't do that with a child, right? I think there's laws against that. And so really, Philippians 4:8. I love this. This is a verse been in my heart. And Paul's writing. He says, "And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing." Now, it's funny because 4:8 through 10 is not the end of Philippians. 4:8 and 9 is not the end of Philippians. He goes on to talk about some more stuff and thank God for them. But yet, Paul says one final thing. Why would he say one final thing? He's about ready, one final thing. But it's important for us to understand that before there's a final thing, there's a whole lot of former things. Let's see what he says. One final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about the things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice all you've learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be with you. It's funny because he says one final thing. There's going to be a bunch of former things in your relationships. There's going to be a bunch of pain. There's going to be a bunch of hurt. There's going to be a bunch of anxiety and maybe even anger. And sometimes those aren't even from the people that we love, but they come from other people, but we push them off on the person we love. So look what Paul says. One final thing. He says, let the exclamation point, let the punctuation of your story not be what irritates you, not be what angers you, but he said, let the punctuation be what's good. He said, I want you to focus on the fact that she got pink and purple in her hair. I want you to focus on the fact that she makes cookies even if they get burned from time to time. Come on, somebody. He says, I need you to understand something. Paul's writing, and he says, there's going to be a lot of former things, a lot of things that happen in your day, that happen in your relationship, that are going to be there to cause frustration and anxiety and pain and hurt and anger and all these things. He says, but I want you to not fix your mind on it. I want you to fix your mind on what is good. Fix it, man. I just, that word fix, man, it means that I am going to be unmoved by what is good. Yeah. It doesn't mean there's bad. It doesn't mean there's not bad. I'm just going to be unmoved by it. I'm gonna focus on the things I love about my wife, and there's gonna be a lot of distractions that come in that are gonna try to get my attention, but I'm focused. Is this weirding you out yet? A little bit? I'm gonna be focused on her, and I'm gonna gaze lovingly into her eyes, and I'm gonna focus on her, and I refuse to allow all the distractions of life. I refuse to take them out on her, and I choose to fix my thoughts on the best things about her. Amen. The punctuation of my day is not going to be the fact that she snores or the fact that she's terrified whenever I'm driving on ice. The punctuation on my day is going to be that I thank God for her, that she's a phenomenal mom and she loves me well. The punctuation, guys, of any relationship, if it's your boss, if it's your spouse, if it's your child, allow the punctuation be that which is good. Amen. Allow the final thought to be the best about them. I'm telling you, what amazing about that is, you wake up in love.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that again.
Go for it.
If you'll go to bed in love, how many of y'all know you'll wake up in love? Problem is, we don't make it a final thought. So we go to bed angry, and we wake up angry. And that happens one day, and then 2 days, and then 3 days, and then 4 days, and then a week, and then 2 weeks, and then a month, and then a year, and then 2 years. And we wake up unhappy. We wake up frustrated. Paul says, I can fix it. Have a final thought each night. Have a final thought each night that's good. Because if you'll go to bed in love, you'll wake up in love.
Yeah. Paul also says in 2 Corinthians 5:9, so we make it our goal to please him. And it is our call to be kind to one another and build each other up. So I need to treat him. I need to treat my friends. If we treat them as they ought to be and what they could be, then they'll probably be that. And I've witnessed that in friendships, and I've witnessed that in our relationship, that if you hold them to that standard, a lot of times they're going to meet it if they know somebody wants and has faith that you can be there.
I see, when she's telling me I'm losing weight, I see what's going on now. She's always like, you've been working out, hadn't you, babe? You looking good. I'm like, yeah. She's like, where you going? I'm going to the gym to lift weights. You want a cookie? No, give me a banana. What are you going to do with the peel? I'm going to leave it on the trash can. I'm not there yet. I'm a work in progress.
I still burn cookies. Can't
and
get
you
it
still
right.
burn cookies.
We're a work in progress.
We're a work in
progress
for sure, man. I'm thankful y'all don't video us all week long, because you'd want to go to a different church probably. Where everybody pretends to be perfect. I love that, babe. That's so good, man. Because the truth is, you need to see how God created people, not how they are. Come on, somebody. I need to see the best in you, because that's who God created you to be. Does that mean you have flaws? No, you definitely have flaws, and they irritate me. I'm just not going to focus. I have flaws that are going to irritate you. Let's just not focus on it. Let's see the best. Let's call out the best. Matter of fact, the word says like this: let deep call to deep. Let the deep things of God that are in you call out to those other person, because it brings them out. When Jesus spoke to Lazarus in the tomb, Lazarus, the Lord told me this one time, he spoke to Lazarus who was dead, and the Lord said, no, Lazarus was alive, he just didn't know it yet. Come on, somebody. He needed Jesus to call it out of him. He needed Jesus to call the life out of him, or into him, if you could say it, if you'd rather. And so sometimes we're going to call the things that are not as though they are into people and out of them, so that they'll be who God has created them to be. That brings in, just as we're talking about annoyances, let's talk about arguments for just a couple minutes, and then a couple closing thoughts. We don't fight a lot. We really don't. We don't really fight. We'll have disagreements. But let's talk about disagreements or arguments or fights or whatever a person wanted to call it. What would you say to someone that says, I seem to be fighting quite a bit right now?
Well, I mean, we're a sum total of our experiences. So a lot of fights come because we have some kind of insecurity inside of us. So I found when I have a problem with him, really I have a problem with me. There's something in me that's not quite right. And again, iron sharpens iron. And God has got to shape you and mold you. So he's going to use somebody to do that. So I'm learning that a lot of times when I have a problem, I need to take a good look at myself.
Man, that's tough, isn't it?
And then respond in a godly way.
You had me.
Which
right up until
even harder.
That's a real tough word, man. We always say it like this, that porcupines in a pen are going to poke one another.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to have disagreements. I like that, though, because that is the truth. A lot of times, the frustrations we have with people somehow reflect an insecurity in our own life. Because God needs you to see that. Amen. And most of us,
to address it.
Yeah, he wants you to address it. And most of us are too arrogant to allow him to speak to us and say, hey, you got to fix this. Right?
That's why I'm sorry is such a hard phrase.
Oh, man, I hate that word.
I do.
You hate it worse than me.
Yeah, I
do. The truth is, that's true. If you're willing to argue over something to hurt someone, you better be willing to apologize to heal someone.
Yeah.
We always say it like this. I eat a lot of crow in life. Not because one time I was playing basketball, no joke, this is a true story, and I was on the 3-point line and someone got fouled underneath. And I looked at the guy and went, did I foul you? And he kind of he looked at me like, you're 20 feet from me. And I was like, I know, but and he said no, it was clean or something. But I thought, I know he got fouled. And I knew they didn't call it.
Yeah.
So he can call it on me. I know that it wasn't a big deal. And so my point in that is this: sometimes I'll apologize even if I know I'm not wrong. Because my need to be right does not outweigh my need for reconciliation and restoration. That's good. Who am I talking to? My need to be, the problem is we have this need to be right because we feel like if we're wrong, then it's the end of the world. Listen, I need you to know something. You're wrong on stuff, right? Especially if you're not a Chiefs fan. If you're a Denver fan, you're wrong. You've missed it. There's a few of them in the house. Come on, somebody. Preach it with me now. Sean Smith, give me an amen online. The reality is, church, there's times that you're wrong, and that's okay. You know what? There's times you're right, and you handled something wrong. And you can just go and go, I can go, babe, you know what? I'm sorry for the way I handled that. I apologize for the way I handled that. I should have handled that differently. The Lord told me a few years ago, he said, I was in a situation, and the Lord said, you're right, but you're handling it wrong. Therefore, you're wrong.
Yep.
So from heaven's perspective, I'm wrong. And that'll jack with your theology, won't it?
Yeah.
Because biblically, what the guy and I were debating about, I was correct. But I handled it wrong. So from heaven, I was wrong. Wow, man. It's important for us to understand that there's going to be, Jesus said it like this, in this world you will have trouble. Right? In your marriage, you will have trouble. In your relationships, you will. They don't tell you that when they're doing the wedding, do they?
No.
The preacher up and get up and go.
Paul tries to talk us all out of it.
He does. Paul's like, I wouldn't do it. There ain't no way I'd get in that situation.
He warned us.
Not going to happen. But if y'all want to understand, it's for life. Amen. And so it's important to understand that it rains on the just and the unjust alike. In this world you will have trouble, but Jesus finished that with, but take heart. I overcame the world. But take heart. I got it. I'm your peace in the midst of the storm. Notice that's how he ends Philippians 4:18. Then the God of peace will be with you. So if you can imagine it like this, you're in your anxiety, you're in your frustration, you're in your fight, you're in your argument, and essentially God is waiting. Check this out. If I'm sitting there with Megan and we're having a dispute about where the banana peel goes and where the trash can goes and whatever it is, snoring in sleep or talking in your sleep or whatever it is, and we're having this dispute, the God of peace is waiting to come to your aid. He's waiting to heal your heart. He's waiting to show up in that situation. But because you won't fix your final thought, he has to stand outside. He has to stand around the perimeter of your problem. We often ask God, God, would you help me? Help my heart heal. We ask God to help us heal. We ask God to help us fix things. But then we keep him on the perimeter because we won't fix our thoughts. Because we won't apologize. Because we won't refocus. And so the beauty of heaven, the peace is the atmosphere of heaven. And heaven desires to invade your situation. Check it out. But if it doesn't come, it's your fault, not his. If there's not peace, it's my fault, not hers. You know why? I do. So I have to understand if there's a problem in my relationship with my wife, I need to be the one to fix it. If there's a problem in the relationship with her husband, she needs to be the one to fix it. Because I do. And then it allows the peace of God to be with us. Isn't that what it says?
It does.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We see everything you heard me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be with you. If you need peace in your situation, fix your final thought. Put a good punctuation to that. The question, if you're single and if you're married, that'd be a different answer here. What if I don't know if I'm marrying the right one? If you're questioning that before you're married, you need to rethink your marriage. Amen? Come on, amen? If we've talked to people that have said this, and no one really even in particular, just have heard it, that would say, I think I married the wrong person. Or the question, did I marry the right person? I can answer that for you right now. Are you married? Then you married the right person. Because the minute you enter into covenant, see, God believes in covenant. The minute you enter into covenant, God goes, they're the right person. Be with them. Right? The minute you agree and you say, you know what, God, I'm gonna enter into this thing. In that moment, whether it was right or wrong in the beginning, it's became right because you've entered into an agreement of marriage that God calls covenant. God, remember, marriage is a God thing, not a state thing. That's why I don't get too worried about the way the government defines marriage, because it doesn't change the way God defines marriage. Yep. Amen? It doesn't have to change my acceptance of the way God defines marriage. And so if God defines marriage, right, when you say I do and she says I do and he says I do and she says I do and they agree, in that moment they have become heaven's person for you.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I agree. Just even going back to pleasing God, and marriage pleases God, but the little things that we do, the getting you the banana so you can eat it, or washing dishes, anything that you do for your family or for another person pleases God. Going to Jamaica pleases God, but neither one of them pleases him more than another. So we just, remember that.
That's good. I want to just take a step with that. So check that out, man. You being a good husband, being a good wife is vitally important as me preaching the gospel to God.
That's why we exist.
That's why we exist, to make Jesus famous. And in our marriages, we should make him famous. And so you being a good friend is just as important as this team that's going to Jamaica next week. Like, that is some power. That's a good point that we hadn't even really thought about. So in your relationship, you're the right one. Another question that I just wanted to throw in here, and that's this one about romance. Like, how do we stay romantic within our marriage? I think you have to be intentional. Amen. Mm-hmm. Like we have 4 kids. There was a couple last service that had 6 kids.
Very impressive.
Yeah, I thought 4 was tough, and they come in with 6, and now Megan's like, we could do 2 more. I think she's pushing for a school bus. I'm just going to be honest. But I think that you do have to be intentional. Like it used to be a date night. Just to be honest, like, we have basketball 3 nights a week, and we have church stuff 3 nights a week. That gives us 1 night a week to do something as a family. So we don't do a lot of nights with people because we have 1 night a week. Yep. And so like a date night, that's a night away. We have 6 nights a week that we're busy. So that gives me, if we go on a date night, that's a night away that we're not even, that's 7 nights that we didn't get to do something with just our family. And so we might do a date breakfast. Matter of fact, the other day we went to the hospital together. Yeah. On a date. We went and had some food afterwards, and we just made it something special. And so I think as a married couple, you have to be intentional about the time you're given.
Busyness is the greatest enemy.
Oh man, say that again.
Busyness is the greatest enemy.
Man, if the devil won't make you backslide, he'll try to make you busy. Come on, somebody. Amen. And so none of those things should take priority over your relationship, over your marriage. But the reality is, if we were to take a poll, we all are busy. Yeah. So you got to be intentional about time with your spouse. Mm-hmm. I often say it like this: husbands, kiss your wives with no ulterior motives. Wives, kiss your husbands with ulterior motives. And I'm careful saying it on an ice day, because if there's 300 men, they're amen me. But with 6 men in the crowd, they're like, I'm afraid to say anything. What if she hits me? Just plug her nose. But that's the reality, man. Just be intentional, man. Be intentional. Speak each other's love languages, but be intentional about your spouse in every capacity, man. Be intentional about their needs. Be intentional about what they desire, what they're going through, dreams they want. Like there's some things I want to do for my wife. A real good friend of hers, Heidi, is in Alaska, and I keep telling her, just take a trip. We all can't go. No, but you can go. I'll fly you out there. You'd enjoy some time away from me. I'm just kidding. But like, if you want to go, I want you to go, right? Because that's important to you, because you don't get to see her very often now. So if you want to go, I'm telling you, go. My dad said he'd pay for it.
Even better. What's
Even
next
better.
life?
Now the problem's solved. But all joking aside, it's important for us to be intentional about being excited about what the other person's excited about. So my wife, she likes to bring me donuts, or she likes to bring me candy bars, because she knows I get excited about the littlest things. Amen. So she's like, my kids are like, Dad, I brought you a payday. I'm like, yes, I wanted a payday. And so be intentional, church, as we're closing. Jonathan, do you know that song, Here Is in Heaven? I want to play that. As we were talking, that it's because this is heaven, man. Church is heaven, amen. Our relationship, it's supposed to reflect heaven. So I'm going to pray in just a second, and we're not going to spend a lot of time in this song. I just want to play it one time, even just the chorus or whatever, man, just flow in that. But I just want you guys to know that it's worth it. Is it easy? No. But it's worth it. If you're single, it's important. Wait for the right person. Right? Set your price, set your standard high, man. That's I've got a person in my life right now. I was telling them just the other day that my standard for them is so high. They said, well, help me find a husband. I said, I'll help you, but my standard for you is so high, it's going to be tough for anyone to make it. But they're going to get it. They're going to get an awesome, rich husband.
Absolutely. I always tell
in Jesus' name.
I always tell young women that I counsel, write it down and make it plain.
That's it.
Because God will answer.
That's it. And if he's not it now, he ain't going to be it after you're married. Nope. Come on, somebody. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. God, I just thank you for who you are. Lord, I thank you that you're faithful. God, I thank you that you're good. Lord, I thank you for this time for us to be able to talk about love actually, and really what love actually is. God, you love us greatly. You love us so deeply, and you want us to reflect that love into the world, because that is heaven. Man, that's what heaven does. Heaven reflects your glory, God. We were created to be reflectors of your presence to a lost and dying world. We were created to be a stepping stone to you, not a stumbling block. So God, we're deciding today we're going to let go of hurts and we're going to think on good so the God of peace can show up. We're going to be intentional today about taking time with our spouses so that the God of peace can show up. We're going to be intentional today about not holding current people hostage for old people's problems. We're going to let the God of peace show up. God, regarding the church, regarding relationships, regarding church planting, regarding finances, regarding everything, I can't speak for everybody, but for mine and my wife's life, regarding everything, God, we decide today we're going to think on the good so that you can show up, so the peace of God can be here. No more keeping you on the perimeter. No more keeping you on the outside. You now have full access to our life. We're going to fix our thoughts. Go ahead, Jonathan.
The atmosphere is changing now. For the Spirit of the Lord is here. The evidence is all around. For the Spirit of the Lord is here. Overflow in this place. Fill our hearts with your love. Your love surrounds us. You're the reason we came to encounter your love. Your love surrounds us. Oh, your love surrounds us, Lord. The atmosphere is changing now. The Spirit of the Lord is here. The evidence is all around. For the Spirit of the Lord is here. Overflow in this place. Fill our hearts with your love. Your love surrounds us. You're the reason we came to encounter your love. Your love surrounds us. Spirit of God, fall fresh on us. We need your presence. Your kingdom come, your will be done here as in heaven. Spirit of God, fall fresh on us. We need your presence.
God, we thank you for your presence today. God, we thank you for the God of peace that's going to show up within our relationships, the God of peace that's going to show up, God, within our families, the God of peace that's going to show up at the Hill and other churches across the country and internationally, God, the God of peace that's our hope, that's our joy, that's our strength, the God of peace that has done it before, he'll do it again. I thank you that the God of peace is showing up in the middle of my pit. I thank you that your peace desires, God, you desire to envelop every atmosphere of our life, every area. So God, we're going to fix our thoughts today on what's good. We love you today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. 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 Hey guys, a couple things. If you've signed up for Stronger Men's Conference, that money is due soon. See Brother John. Also tonight, there will not be a service tonight. I'm a little concerned about refreezing. With that being said, Brother Caleb is going to be here for prayer and talking and fellowship, and he'll get some coffee made in the foyer. So if you're out and are willing to brave it, we'll have some people here for you. Other than that, Hill Church, I love you crazy people. Y'all have a good day.